Okay, let's cut some damn shit.
My reward is not in your money. And so you can't accuse me of preaching for money because I'm not doing that. I'm preaching to you for free. I'm giving you my services for free. And so far, so good. It looks great. It seems as though Paul is doing this from the goodness of his heart. So now let's look at the second letter that he wrote.
Street whore.
To the Corinthians. Starting in chapter 11, Paul seems to be defending himself, and he seems to be getting a little bit snarky. Now, in verse 1 of chapter 11, he says,
"Come on,
slut,
play the damn game.
Do bear with me." He says, "I feel divine jealousy for you, but I am afraid that the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning. Your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and devotion to Christ." So something is going on. It seems as though they have, he's pushing back on something. It seems as though they have maybe perhaps been talking with other people that maybe are bringing up concerns about Paul. And so Paul is again giving his defense, defending himself. And he's saying, I'm afraid you're being deceived by someone else. I wonder what they were deceived about. Let's read on. Now he says in verse 5, "Indeed, I consider I am not in the least inferior to these super apostles." He's been a little bit snarky here. He says, "Even if I am unskilled in speaking, I am not so in knowledge." So yeah, I might not speak well, but I'm very, very smart. Indeed, in every way we have made this plain to you. So I apologize, okay? I've made it plain to you. It says in verse 7, "Or did I commit a sin in humbling myself so that you might be exalted? Because I preached God's gospel to you free of charge. I robbed other churches by accepting support from them in order to serve you. And when I was with you and was in need, I did not burden anyone, but the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied my need. So I refrained and I will refrain from burdening you in any way."
Suck my dick.
When you hear this, what do you think?
Don't even think about it, slut.
And it seems as though Paul, because in the beginning of verse 1, he says, "I wish you would bear with me a little foolishness. Just bear with me here." And then he says, "Did I commit a sin in humbling myself? I preached the gospel to you for free.
He's bringing
and
that
I robbed
whore.
other churches by accepting support from them so that I could serve you." So he's kind of like, he's defending himself against some sort of an accusation that he was receiving payment from other churches, because in his first letter to them, he states, "I would rather die than be robbed of this boast that I don't get money for preaching."
Suck my
And he was able to receive payment, but that he chose not to. That it was his duty to preach this gospel free of charge. But now, in the second letter to the Corinthians, he is giving this defense about why he was receiving payments from other churches. He says, "I robbed other churches by accepting support from them in order to serve you." I'm wondering if
suck my dick,
the Corinthians, whoever wrote to him or whoever was making these accusations from the church at Corinth, I'm wondering if they accused him of robbing other churches, and so that's why he's using this language, like, "I robbed other churches." Again, he's bear with me in this foolishness. So he's saying, this is so silly. You're saying I robbed people? And so that seems to be the defense he's giving. He's defending himself against this accusation of having robbed other churches. And he says, by accepting support from them in order to serve you. So he's basically saying, listen, yeah, I was getting payment from these other churches, from this church in Macedonia. They supplied my needs. But I did that so that I could better serve you, so that I didn't have to take money. You see this major shift in Paul's attitude toward accepting gifts and payment. And if we go to Philippians 4, starting in verse 14, he says to the Philippians, "Yet it was kind of you to share my trouble. And you Philippians yourselves know that in the beginning of the gospel, when I left Macedonia, no church entered into partnership with me in giving and receiving except you only." In verse 18, he says, "I have received full payment and more. I am well supplied, having received the gifts you sent, fragrant offerings, a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God, and my God will supply every need of yours according to the riches of his glory." So he has let them know, hey, I got your payment. I have received full payment and more. We see this timeline, this order of events, where Paul goes to the church at Corinth. He sends them a letter after he leaves, and he says, I am not going to receive payment from you. I am not asking. I deserve it. I could receive payment if I wanted to. The Lord says I could, but you know what? I would rather die than you to take this post from me. So I'm letting you know that I am preaching to you free of charge. I do not take money for payment. That's just not how I operate. Then he leaves. He goes to the church in Macedonia. He receives full payment. Who knows how long he was receiving gifts and payment from this church. And then it seems as though word got back to the church at Corinth that he was receiving some kind of payment. And this is why you see in the second letter, 2 Corinthians, him defending himself against these accusations. He said, I robbed these churches, but I did it so I could serve you. And so he goes from saying, I don't receive payment, to, well, yeah, I do receive payment, but, I did this for you. Because he's being accused, he doesn't need to give this defense unless there was some sort of accusation. He can't just bring this up out of thin air, right? He's obviously responding to something. We don't know. We don't have the letter he was responding to. I wish we did. So we have no idea what this church was saying, what they were accusing him of. But we can make the pieces fit. When we weave the story together and we see this chain of events and we see Paul getting so defensive about his finances, at the very least, Paul was accused of being shady in his financial dealings. He was at least accused of it, and he had to perpetually give this defense against these accusations. Now, of course, we don't know all of the details. We don't know for sure what was going on with Paul and his payments, but we can see that Paul makes it very clear that he is not receiving payment from churches. He doesn't even talk about receiving payment from the Philippians. He doesn't bring them up in his first letter to the Corinthians. But in his second letter, he has to give a defense and bring them up. Why?
You suck my
Because they
dick,
did.
bitch.
They brought it up. They're like, hey, we've heard some things. We heard you're receiving payment. You said that you weren't receiving payment. What's going on here? That's just what I imagine was being said. And Paul has to give his defense.
Dick, bitch.
And he gets so snarky and he's like, psh, just bear with me in this foolishness for a minute. I was robbing these churches, and I really think that him using that terminology, robbing churches, was a response to something that they said to him. They probably accused him of robbing churches, and so he was just kind of being snarky about it and making a point. And so it doesn't look good for Paul, in my opinion. To me, this was such a big kind of like moment of like, oh my gosh, like this guy was not this like honest, humble guy that they preached to us about in church. This was someone who was very shady in his dealings, who was constantly flip-flopping on what he was saying, who seemed to be lying to churches, or at least withholding information to these churches, and then getting accused by these churches of being shady. And then when he's called out, he gets just like really snarky and kind of flippant in his attitude, and we see that humility just kind of fly out the window. And it's so funny how he boasts without boasting. Like he says, I could boast, but I won't, or, I have this right, but I don't use it. Lucky you. It's this attitude of like, look how great I am. I'm doing what I want. Or, I have this right, but I don't use it. Lucky you. It's this attitude of like, look how great I am. I'm doing what I want. You need to get in line. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't accuse me of anything. I was sent by Jesus. You better just straighten up and understand. He didn't want to be accused because he was constantly having to defend himself. And I just wonder why this apostle is constantly having to defend himself against other followers of Jesus. And it really just paints a picture of this whole Christian system where none of these Christians can get together and agree. They're all arguing with one another. They're all disagreeing with one another on how to approach these things. How they're supposed to behave. Should they be receiving money for preaching? Should they be boasting about not receiving money from preaching? Should they be lying about receiving money from preaching? But I just thought it was so interesting because I had never heard this about Paul before. it takes a lot of study to really go through these letters and to
move, whore.
Kind of put the timeline together, and most people don't do that. And so when I heard about these kind of shady dealings, it really just kind of was like another check, for Paul and the fraud department. I don't know that we could use this to prove that Paul was committing an act of fraud, but I do think he was being dishonest about his payments for preaching, and I think at least he was bragging when he probably shouldn't have been. He was bragging about not receiving payment when he was receiving payment, and that to me seems like a lie. That to me seems very shady, and it just makes him untrustworthy. It just kind of adds to that untrustworthiness factor that Paul just kind of carries. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think there's something I missed or something I didn't consider about Paul, or why you think Paul maybe wasn't lying about this situation. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. And Paul has always been a shady character to me, but this just kind of drives the nail in the coffin, and I'm so curious to hear what you think. So leave a comment, like and share, subscribe, ring the bell, do the thing, and I'll see you next time. You think so? Leave a comment, like and share, subscribe, ring the bell, do the thing, and I'll leave a comment, like and share, subscribe, ring the bell, do the thing, and
Bitch, suck my motherfucking slut. Suck my dick.
I didn't do this research, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think the resurrection's good evidence of anything. I think it's just more mythology.
Suck my dick,
But
bitch.
then, did you look at the fruits?
Fruits of what?
Of belief in Jesus in the early church.
Yeah, they're the fruits of believing in any other decent religion. The fruits of believing in Buddhism. The fruits of believing in whatever, Mormonism. Listen, there's lots of religious systems that teach good things that could or could not produce good results. That has nothing to do with the validity of the mythology.
But then people do bad things in spite of the teachings of the Bible. Whereas with other religions, they do bad things somewhat according to, or in the framework, that their
Now
religion,
fuck up and move this night.
says.
Well, you're right. If you're religious, if you're a Christian, you do typically try to at least appeal to the morals of the Bible. And to me, I think that makes it even worse, because the Bible says that you can own slaves. The Bible says that women are subservient to men. The Bible says that if a woman doesn't bleed on her wedding night, you can stone her. I mean...
Okay, we can talk about women. I'll just quote St. Paul to try just first in 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah, when he says there's no Jew nor Greek, no male nor female, nor slave nor free.
No, it's not this. Love it's this long monologue about love.
Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, so on and so forth.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. God specifically states that women are to
Well,
serve
it's time
men. It
to
says in
get ahead
Genesis
of the
3:16 that your desire will be for your husband, but he will rule over you.
Okay, he wants...
Paul
he
said
wants
for women to be subject to their husbands.
Right, let's do exegesis of Genesis 2.
Genesis 3.
No, Genesis 2.
Move, slut.
Genesis 3, when he says that women will be ruled over.
God damn it.
Genesis 2, right.
God fucking
Genesis 2,
damn it.
20, 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Suck my dick, bitch.
Let's get into the Hebrew. So the man gave names to all the livestock, birds in the sky, and all the wild animals. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs or side, and then closed up the place with flesh. So that's the creation of Eve, right?
Yep. And Eve was created for what purpose?
A suitable helper.
Oh, is a helper an equal?
Yes.
No,
Even more. Even
helper is not
more
equal.
than an equal.
It's actually not an equal.
It is an equal. Let me prove
Certainly is not an equal because remember, Nate, I'm telling you why. Nate, you're not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna show you why you're wasting your time, okay? Because the same passage that you pulled up says that Adam was looking for a helper among the animals. Verse 18, the Lord God says, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper as a partner." So out of the ground the Lord God formed every animal of the field and every bird of the air and brought him to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called them, whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. So God initially believed that a helper could be found among the animals. A helper is not an equal.
He knew all along.
He didn't know all along.
No, he knew all along.
Then why would he lie here? Why would he lie and tell Adam to find a helper among the animals?
Let's get. That's because it's how do you say it in English? It's to. I can't explain what I'm
Suck my
thinking.
dick, bitch.
It's to explain
Suck my dick, bitch.
things because the Hebrew philosophy, it's like do something first and then you'll understand.
That's not a Hebrew philosophy I'm familiar with, and I had to learn Hebrew.
No, but the Hebrew way of that's Hebrew philosophy.
Who told you that was Hebrew philosophy? Because I know quite a few rabbis that would disagree with you.
God damn it.
Where did you get that idea from?
It was from an article about Tanakh.
God damn it.
Anyways,
God
let's get
fucking
to.
damn it.
It was 20.
God fucking damn it.
So God makes women.
A helper, a suitable helper, right?
God fucking damn
The
it.
word is assh-ole. And so the interesting word is
God fuck
assh.
it.
Assh is found in the Hebrew name Eliezer,
Suck my dick,
and
bitch.
it's a helper that is referenced a lot. That's referenced a lot in Tanakh. And lots of times it's used for God. It's God who is the Ezer of humans.
Yeah.
And that comes to
You know
this.
that anybody can be a helper, right? So like if I lend you help, that makes me a helper within the context we're talking about.
It's
But
translated as.
if God created me to be a helper for you, that means now I'm subservient to you.
No, it doesn't mean that. The reason being that Ezer
God
in
damn it.
Hebrew means
Fucking
rescuer.
No,
So,
that's not an adequate translation. So the word you're
Suck
referring
his dick,
it's not
bitch.
the word you're referring to has a semantic range, right? So you can't just pick and choose like what part of the semantic range that you want to refer to.
No,
Like you
because
actually have to take the
first-
context into account. So
Suck my
Ezer
dick,
Yes.
bitch.
means to help. Now,
Suck
if
my
you're
dick,
in
bitch.
danger, right? If you're drowning and
Suck
somebody
my
gives
dick,
you
bitch.
Ezer, then yes, they rescued you. But that's just because of the context of the passage. The word
Suck
doesn't
my
mean to
dick,
rescue, it means to help.
It
Suck
means to
my
rescue
dick,
in
bitch.
the way that God. It means to help. Let's say help. It means to help in the way that God helps mankind. Exodus
And
18:4.
does God help mankind in a different way than humans help mankind?
No. What I mean
Yes,
is,
so God's help is different than our help because God is
No,
powerful.
sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the word just means help. She's created to be a helper.
A
God damn
helper
it.
in the kind of help that God gives.
No, in the
God
kind of help
damn
that
it.
humans give, because she's not a
The
god.
kind of help that God
No,
gives.
the kind of help that
Look at
humans
it.
give.
Let's look at all the times that Ezer comes up in Tanakh.
I've read
Exodus
it.
8,
Nate,
Exodus
Stupid!
18:4.
You fell
Nate,
for
this is a bad
you
argument
fell for that
because
like a
humans
sack of
can't
bricks
do
of
what God
shit,
does.
Each one a ton of
It
shit.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that God uses like the same verb applies to God. None of that matters.
Stupid fucker.
It's honorific.
No, it's not.
No, it is.
No, it's
Now
not. That's a lie you
please
have to
fuck
tell
up
yourself.
and bring that poem on here. So
No,
I can
it's
hear your word.
etymology.
God.
No, it's not.
God fuck.
It's poor exegesis. If you wrote a paper in seminary making this claim, they would give you an F on it.
I don't get it. That's
F.
good.
Like, they would make you rewrite the paper. This is bad. This is not how words
No, they
work.
just fuck the fuck out of you.
No, it is. I mean,
It's not.
etymology is how words work.
No,
Shut
it's
up.
literally not. Etymology is the science of how words came to be.
Yes.
Lexicography is how words work.
You suck my dick, bitch.
Yes. The one.
And you're doing neither right now. You're saying because God can do a verb, then when that verb is
Kiss
applied
that
to
horrible
humans, we
word.
must take it with the same connotation as when it's applied to God. That's not how that works.
That's absolutely how that works.
That's
I just
absolutely
caught-
not how it works.
This
whore.
word.
I
let's-
don't know if you know this, but in the Hebrew language, God doesn't get his own set of verbs. Right? All the verbs in the Hebrew language are used irrespective of who's doing
I
it.
get you
Right?
black
So
ass for standing
if the
there.
verb
Yeah.
if the verb to go is being used, you can apply that to God and you can apply it to a human being. It's just a verb.
Do not lie to people.
I'm not lying, Nate. You're the one lying.
Genesis 1:1.
Ah!
Elohim. Sorry. Bereshit bara Elohim. The verb bara is creating ex nihilo.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
No, man, it is.
No, it's not. You can say it is all you want. It's not. There's nothing in the word bara that requires ex nihilo. Nothing.
It's creating. It's not the verb that's used when humans create something using matter that already exists.
No, it's a very common verb in Hebrew. It's not referring to ex nihilo.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay. Let me look it up because. Bible Hub.
Every time they make something, they create something in the Old Testament, it's the same verb. Making golden calves, same verb. Joshua, making things, same verb.
I fucked his hole. No goddamn bird dog game that fucking pisses me off.
You can apply that to God and you can apply it to a human being. It's just a verb.
Do not lie to people.
I'm not lying, Nate. You're the one lying.
Genesis 1:1. Elohim. Sorry. Bereshit bara Elohim. The verb bara is creating ex nihilo.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
No, man, it is.
No, it's not. You can say it is all you want. It's not. There's nothing in the word bara that requires ex nihilo. Nothing.
It's creating. It's not the verb that's used when humans create something using matter that already exists.
No, it's a very common verb in Hebrew. It's not referring to ex nihilo.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
Suck my slut.
Okay. Let me look it up because.
Now fuck up and move that whore right here. Please, please fuck up.
Bible Hub.
Every time they make something, they create something in the Old Testament, it's the same verb. Making golden calves, same verb. Joshua, making things, same verb. You're arguing about things you do not know.
God damn it.
It's just a generic word for creation.
To create, absolutely.
Yeah, not ex nihilo.
God damn it, I fucked up.
So it's okay. So in Arabic, it's a loan word. Definition.
This is what happens when someone teaches you how to use like an online interlinear resource, but you haven't actually went through and learned how to do proper exegesis.
No, it is.
It's not.
Brother, to make
Get that
or
fucking
do.
whore
To
out
make
of
or
here.
create.
I'm reading right now. Unlike asa, to make or do, and yatsar, to form, bara never takes a human subject. Numbers
What?
16:30 warns of a new thing God might create to vindicate His holiness, and 1 Samuel 2:29 returns the same theological boundary. Creation belongs to God's prerogative. Isaiah amplifies this theme. I, the Lord, and am the maker of all
I'm
things.
fixing that ear,
Stretched
you're
down
right.
the heavens. I have created you in Isaiah 43. I form the light and create darkness in Isaiah 45. For thus says the Lord, He
Dumbass.
created the heavens, He is God. He did not create it to be empty, but formed it to be inhabited. Isaiah 45. These verses locate sovereignty, providence, and even the mystery of
So I don't know
origin.
what script from your reading room, but you're wrong. The verb is applied to humans both inside and outside the Bible.
Yeah, I fucked up, B. Yeah, I fucked up. I fucked. God damn it.
Like, okay,
I fucked
it's
up.
Genesis 5.
Want me to show you where?
Okay, yes.
Suck
Joshua
my
17,
dick,
15.
bitch.
Right, up to the forest and clear a place for yourself there. Yes.
Yeah, the verb is create. Joshua, there's instructions to a group of people to clear a
Clear
place.
and cut down and clear. Yes.
Yep, to create a
Clear
place
it.
for yourself. And guess what? It wasn't ex nihilo, and it wasn't done by God. This is a bad argument. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure you read an article, but the article's wrong. You need to trash it, throw it away.
Now fuck up and take that
I'm
pony.
just looking at this. But do you know sometimes words are used, especially in the Tanakh. Words are used. There are yod that are left there without specific explanation, and it's just
Yod?
brought down by tradition.
Inexplicable
Without-
yods?
for
What are you
example,
talking about? I don't know about inexplicable yods.
They are diacritic signs or yod or
Well,
some.
If they're diacritic, then they're not inexplicable.
No, but we don't. That people don't know how to pronounce or why is it specifically there. There are also spaces between words in the Tanakh that people left there without understanding explicitly why it's there. So there are things.
No,
That's-
I don't believe that. There are a lot of times you see spaces between words, and it's for artistic purposes on the scroll.
Yes, but whatever the purpose. Sorry, I'm babbling. Whatever the purpose is, people don't know today why it's there.
I disagree. I don't know of a single. I don't know of any of these instances that you're claiming exist.
I'm
some-
fixing that ear, you're
I don't
right.
know
think
where you're getting
there's
your
one
information
in-
from, but they're not coming from academic resources.
I'm
These
not,
are like-
I'm not reading.
These are
I'm
like
not reading anything
things you
right
learn
now.
in Bible studies that aren't real.
No, right, but I think there are big spaces between words in Psalms.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, on purpose. For artistic
Yeah, but
reasoning.
people.
That's why you have
don't know.
that's why you have lamids that stretch like 3 inches.
Yeah,
It's for artistic purposes when you made the scroll. That's it.
Suck my dick, bitch.
yes, but people don't know the signification
Yeah,
behind.
there's nothing behind it. It's to fill the lineup, so there's not an empty
There
line.
There might be. We don't know whether there is or not.
No, that's the consensus. You don't know because you haven't studied.
I haven't studied this specifically.
You can literally just read the notes from the Masoretes. They'll tell you.
Yeah, again, I'm not following the Masoretes because it was made by Jews after. It's not the original. The original is the Septuagint. So
The Septuagint is not the original.
the translation in Greek, I know, but that's not what I mean. Anyways, I'm not following the Masoretic text.
Fair enough. Do you know of any non-Masoretic texts that do the thing you're referring to? 'Cause I don't. If you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls and you look at the Samaritan Pentateuch and things like that, you find a very different method of writing that doesn't include the artistic Masoretic flair.
Okay. It was...
Stupid! Cause that was stupid. Stupid.
That's
Stupid machine. Stupid!
Nate, listen, you sound like a smart guy, but I don't know who your study resources are, but they're not good. These are not good arguments.
I just hope you'll continue your research.
Bitch.
In what?
And,
What am I going to find out? I already told you why I don't believe, because Jesus didn't fulfill a single prophecy, not even one. Which means even if you believe God is real, it sure as hell isn't Jesus.
the one thing... Oh, maybe I can talk to you about the Shroud of Turin.
Not going to help.
Might.
Because it's a 13th century forgery that's been carbon dated on 3 separate occasions to be from that time period, and the newest dating method is not a true dating method.
It's... so you wide-angle X-ray scattering is not a true dating method?
Waxis is a joke. They took the shroud and they compared one part of the flax fibers to another piece of fabric from Masada, and they just said, wow, they look like they're roughly in the same level of degradation. They must be from the same time period. That's not how dating works. It's a joke. Not even a good joke.
And so, what about the VUV experiences?
The what?
The VUV, the vacuum UV lights.
I know of no vacuum UV lights.
No, it's a method of emitting light, of radiation.
So what? How's that have anything to do with dating the shroud?
Because nobody could have forged this, especially not in the Middle Ages.
Oh, they certainly could have. In fact, 2 different scientists, one of them Italian, literally did forge it using dating methods methods from dating from that time period.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No.
Yeah.
Like it's
I'll give you the
impossible
names.
It's impossible to reproduce with today's VUV light sources.
Nope, you're wrong. I'll just show it to you. Italian scientist reproduces the Shroud of Turin. Let me get his name real quick. It was a very complicated name to pronounce. Give me a second. I have no idea. Let's see what his name is.
An Italian man.
It certainly was an Italian man, yeah.
From the Institute of Crystallography in Rome. From the National Research Council.
Fucked here.
They even have a book that's going on exhibit too. That's interesting. Okay, give me a second though. Let me.
No, because
I don't know why his name's not pumped.
But
yeah, no, right. But you need 34 trillion.
It
watts.
came out of
No, you certainly don't. The guy's name is Luigi Garlascelli. And you don't need any of those watts. There's zero evidence that the shroud was blasted with any special lights. None whatsoever.
So how is it discolored then?
God damn it.
How was it discolored or colored?
Discolored.
It's discolored by aging. That's how aging works.
God damn it.
No, because I don't know if you ever looked at. I mean, of course you looked at the images, but the discoloration is the discoloration
Suck
of
my
a
dick, bitch.
male body.
You suck
Yeah,
my
I'm aware.
bitch.
Yeah. There's a male figure in the artistic rendering of the shroud. Yeah.
But how do you render it?
Stupid!
You don't have the technology to do it.
Absent-minded.
You're wrong. It was literally done in 2009 by Luigi Garlascelli.
Not in the same way, no.
Yeah, the same way.
Suck my dick,
Yeah.
Like, there's the studies of just look at the articles of Dr. Liberato De Caro. Just look up.
Come on, you dick sucker.
Studies of 2011.
I've read all the nonsense studies. None of them are substantiated. All the ones that are using actual science date it to the 13th century. You've been fooled, just like all the rest of your friends who believe in the Shroud.
God fucking damn
There's
it.
no evidence that the Shroud was dating back to Jesus at all.
What about the pollen?
Stupid! Cause that was stupid!
The 1990s. The pollens that were analyzed from the flax fibers.
There is pollen, as it turns out, in flax, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, yeah, pollen exists. Mm-hmm.
No, but the pollen. Me neither. No, but the pollen
Suck
that
my
were
dick,
found
bitch.
in there is like Gundelia. I've written the specific plants. There's like 50 of them, but there's Gundelia 24T from Linne, which is endemic of Judea and Galilee.
So what?
There's also Zygophyllum demosum.
You are aware that
also-
that pollen's not relegated to a particular area, right? And you also know that the Shroud has been moved. You also know that the Shroud has been migrated to lots of different locations, right? Like it's going to collect pollen eventually.
From Judea to Europe.
No, we'd be wrong.
Well, yeah, that's what
If anything, it was from Europe to Judea.
it's the other way around.
No, we're wrong.
No, because where is it?
This is the weakest argument I've ever heard for the Shroud. The fact that there's pollen on the Shroud that also appears in Judea is the weakest argument ever. This is sad.
It's a plants in plural that are endemic to the regions of Judea and Galilee.
Yeah, I know, and you can find them everywhere.
No, I mean, yeah, everywhere, yes. But it's from the region, right?
And they're found everywhere, I know, yeah.
And
Which means things that have the pollen on it are not dated to Judea. Or not located in Judea.
Come again?
Listen, there is a bird that is native to Ohio. It happens to be that the bird exists elsewhere. That doesn't mean if you find the bird that it migrated from Ohio.
Yes, but if the bird doesn't move from Ohio and it doesn't exist elsewhere.
No, pollen moves. Not only does pollen move, but pollen isn't merely regional. It covers huge territories of land. The same pollen that's in Judea can be found in Europe. The same pollen that's in Europe can be found in Judea. Nate, you can't tell me that you cannot believe that the Shroud is evidence of anything. You can't. This is nonsense. They literally have tested the DNA. It tested as a mixture of pig's blood and red ochre. Why is there pig blood on it? Why is there red ochre on it?
Red what?
Red ochre. It's a plant.
Oh, okay, I don't know about it. Okay.
Why would anyone possibly put pig blood? Put pig's blood on a shroud that belonged to a Jewish man?
Yeah, that's ironic, but that
God
would be ironic.
damn it.
But which studies are you quoting?
I can show you. I used to have it downloaded. I don't have it anymore. Let's see. I think it's from the Macron Research Institute. Let's see if this is the one.
Because nothing infuriates me more than people, claiming to find evidence for Christianity. And,
the shroud's not evidence for shit, just so you're aware. Even if it was from the 1st century, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that a dead man was wrapped in a shroud. That's it. It also doesn't match the Bible. The Bible says that he had a separate head covering. It also says he was wrapped in strips. This is neither a strip nor a head covering. But the article most recently that talks about it is from the Macron Research Institute. and they talk about the blood on the shroud and the previous examinations, and then they list other articles that they specifically wrote on the topic. But they're not the only institute that's writing about this. At the repository at Science Direct,
I just got myself
another article by Giulio Fonti. Who's Giulio Fonti? Department of Industrial Engineering, Italy, and Giuseppe. Oh, Giuseppe doesn't have a bio. Or does he? He's at a university in Italy too. But there's been a bunch of articles written on the topic. It says in the cliff notes of the article, it says the initial blood on the Turin shroud was later reinforced by pigments. There are pigments on the shroud.
Thunderbolt.
And which studies? Okay. Can you?
Yeah,
tell me which
look up an article called "Blood Reinforced by Pigments in the Reddish Stains of the Turin Shroud."
Yes.
There should be no red pigments on the shroud.
I'll look it up. Thanks. Before leaving,
just so we're aware that nothing about the shroud has anything to do with whether or not Jesus was God nor the Messiah. The only that a dude died and was wrapped in this particular cloth. We don't know his identity. We don't know anything about his manner of death other than it seems to be bloody and violent. But it certainly wouldn't prove that Jesus rose from the dead.
It would, because
would not.
The discoloration of flax fibers could be achieved. The only reason it could, the only cause of
you
the
fucking dumbass
discoloration would be UV radiation. So
you would be wrong.
But how can? I mean, it was studied, and it showed that there's no means that we know of in the Middle Ages or in the 1st century, even less so.
You'd be wrong. I already gave you the name of the scientist who reproduced the shroud using methods available in the 13th century. He is not even the only one who did it. There's another guy who did it as well. It wasn't even hard. There's a guy literally on YouTube that recreated it and showed you how he recreated it on YouTube using methods from the 13th century.
That's odd, because I never heard of this.
I don't think you're doing research. I think you're Googling for things that reinforce your already held beliefs.
No, I really did research.
I don't think so. Hey, you're a nice guy, but I don't think you're doing well-rounded research.
Because I have things to do, man. All
right, fair enough. Well, thanks for being courteous and being kind.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Cheers, man. He was kind, at least. He was a nice guy. It's sad that he has to twist himself into pretzels and lie to everybody, but he was nice, at least. Coops, thank you for the $1.99. I appreciate that. And Larry, my friend, thank you so much for sending out 5 DZ Debate memberships. I really appreciate that. The memberships really are the backbone of the community, friends. And all the members have access to the cheat sheet as well. Eventually, I'll put the Shroud articles on the cheat sheet. Maybe I'll do that this week. That would be a good time to do it. Stay Brown, thank you for the $10 super chat. It says, read them the prophecy of Jesus' second coming only after all the U.S. have universal health care and public education. They won't know it's not the Old Testament. So that's the funny thing. If you look at what the prophecies are in the Old Testament about the Messiah, it seems to suggest that people are still going to die in the Messianic age, which is wild because the New Testament says otherwise. Trude, thank you for sending out 5 DZ Debates memberships. I really appreciate that, friend. And our friend Kenneth is back with us. Kenneth says, listening to this in the gym, getting rock hard. Hell yeah. Kenneth, get your rocks off to the stream. Big W. Get pumped, buddy. And Eric says, he heaped coals on your head better than a Christian. Actually, first of all, this is one of my favorite sayings from the Bible. And you're right, Eric. Not Nate, but the prior caller, the Islamic guy. He did heap coals on my head better than a Christian. If you guys don't know about heaping coals on someone's head. It's a wonderful idiom within the Hebrew Bible that Paul brings up in the New Testament. Anthony says, Doug fixed my erectile dysfunction for the 5th time today. Oh, praise Doug. Praise Doug. Listen, Anthony, Doug has fixed your ED so many times, I have to assume at some point you're just walking around rock hard for Doug all day long. Rock hard. Iceman, thank you for the $20 super chat, buddy. Says, Jason, leftover barbecue reheated taste just as good when you first cooked it. I think you mean Justin. But anyways, leftover barbecue reheated. Yeah, that's why I post the clips, because sometimes the clips, when you heard the first time it was horrific, you hear it the second time it's even worse, and you're like, oh shit, this is even worse than I thought. And Ken says Nate is not prepared, clutching at straws. That was the case. He was kind, but he was not prepared. And Boop and Boom, thank you so much for the $80 super chat. That's huge. Thank you so much, friend. Says Anne Frank, a 15-year-old Jewish child, was murdered by Nazis 80 years ago for her faith. Then the Christian God, the Father, judged and sent little Annie to hell to burn every day, hour, and minute cents. Jesus died 3 p.m. on Friday, raised by 6 a.m. on Sunday, 38 hours. Yep. Isn't that crazy? That in the Christian framework, somebody like Anne Frank, merely just being a Jew that doesn't accept Jesus, would be sent to hell, tortured for eternity. That's worse than what the Nazis were going to do to her. Just keep in mind, what God is doing to the people He loved and created is worse than what the Nazis were going to do to them. That should make you think. And Design says, DZ Logic Chart is the grill that cooks. I'm going to make it, friend. I'm going to make the DZ Logic Charts and get them out. And Peter Zackos, thank you for the super chat, friend, says, Doug appeared on my toast this morning. Hail, Doug. I did the holy and worshipful thing. I spread ham on him and ate him. Doug approves. Eat the ham, Peter. Do it. Do it for Doug. And keep your namesake, Peter. You are a prophet of Doug. Obviously, that's why he appeared to you. Your name is Rock Petros. So big W for that. And Texas, my friend, says, if your belief in God doesn't extend beyond personal experiences and other beliefs are valid, then isn't that just a culture thing versus theological truth? It is. At that point, it's just cultural, right? And Susie, my friend, I did get your chat. Susie says, what is the context of the story of the woman who liked big donkeys and horses that made a big splash? Okay. You're referring to Ezekiel. The context is Ezekiel's describing the unfaithfulness of Israel and Judah. And he's describing the unfaithfulness like painting them in the image of like young whores. And so that's why he's talking about the emissions of stallions and members like donkeys. Because he's basically suggesting that Israel and Judah were just these tramps that went around whoring themselves. That was happening in Ezekiel. And Dustin says, just pick a mint-colored, cheaty desk mat, and I'm so fucking stoked about it. Well, I'm glad you did, guys. In the gift shop now, we have a scaled-down edition of the cheat sheet you can get in a big, like 30-inch desk mat. You can put your keyboard or your mouse or just lay it out on your desk, and you've got all kinds of contradictions and stuff on scientific errors and whatnot on the cheat sheet right at your fingertips. You don't even have to have the cheat sheet open. And Jay says Kevin is the sole source of laws of logic, obviously. Transcendental argument for the existence of Kevin. Obviously, it's Kevin and Doug. It's some sort of dualism. Raphael says Jesus is coming soon. When? Soon. When? Soon. Listen, remember, soon means nothing to God. It's a meaningless statement. Soon is, a third of all human history. Yah fight Jacob. This should be fun. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. It says, Yo, Justin, have you read the book called The Gospel and the Zodiac? No, I don't believe in zodiacs. By Bill Darlison. If so, what are your thoughts? If not, may I encourage you to read it? I'd love to get your opinion. Well, John, I haven't read the book. Most likely, if it's related to Zodiac, I'll never read it. I apologize for that. I think Zodiac is another form of wooism, and I don't believe wooism any more than I believe in Christianity or Islam, so it just isn't one of those things. Also, PLN, thank you for the 200... I'm sorry, PLN. Arcades Thank you so much for the $2.99 PLN. Big W, my friend. I really appreciate the thanks. I really appreciate that. Let me just grab more super chats. I'm sorry, I've got a bunch of super chats on the board, and I don't want to get behind. Amir says, Raphael, you'll see, you'll be sorry. Yeah. They always say that. They always want to end with, you'll see, I can't prove it, but you'll see. I'm sure I will. Jennifer says, another live for the week, and it's only Wednesday. Long day in the studio again, so I'm here for this day streaming. Praise Doug. Jennifer is. We're going to be live Thursday and Friday as well, but not over the weekend. So we're doing weekday live streams right now over the summer. But big W for listening, and Josh says guest needs a life preserver. He's drowning in his silly excuses. Channel the Holy Spirit quick. Praise Doug. If the Holy Spirit was real, they'd be bringing better arguments. You best believe that. Raphael says, calling God evil and evil good. Christians are best in doing this. People burning in forever, original sin, God flooding the world. Yeah, they'll admit that these are evil things to do, but when God does them, somehow they're good now? It's weird. The special pleading is weird. Josh says, he's good to me unless he's been drinking. Well, when Yahweh drinks, he gets a little heavy-handed. You know what I mean? Like, there's an old saying in the South where my family's from, when it thunders really bad, they'll say, oh, God's up in heaven beating his wife again. They really say it. The thing people say, guys. Godwin says, New Testament muses that JC couldn't have gone to hell, right? No. In fact, it literally says in 2 Peter, if I remember correctly, in 2 Peter, that he did descend into hell. That's why you've got the harrowing of hell as a major doctrine in the early church. And Jim says, isn't it interesting how God in human form, Jesus was, sent to hell after his own death? God in flesh isn't even above the flame. So, Jim, this brings up a good point. If you believe that God lowered himself to be completely human, then when he went into hell, he would have died. The hellfire would have killed him down there.
Did she ever spit?
No matter which way you slice it, Jesus doesn't make sense. And Josh says guest has 2% intelligence. That is typically the case. Jim says he was done the second he said Job. Oh my God. Dude, I will never understand why Christians get back into a corner and then run to Job. I will never understand it. You are self-cooking yourself every time. Adele, my friend, great to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat, friend. It says, love the day streams. My boss has been making me work today, meaning I know they shouldn't do that. So less supers for me, but I'm here supporting. Well, Adele, listen, don't get fired. Do your job. We love you around here, so just chill out and have a good time. Just have a good time. We're here for you, Adele. And Jennifer coming in again says, Justin, perfect logical walkthrough of why your point holds no water. Caller, yeah, but no, proceeds to reiterate exact previous point while holding back angry tears. Jennifer, this is every conversation. This is every single one. Every single one. They're always like this. They're always the same. Ralph says, Pito in the house, let's go. Yeah, that would have been where the conversation went to if he wasn't so nice and left. Crystal says, was loading YouTube to watch yesterday's episode and found you doing a live now. Woohoo! Is there a schedule so I can know when and where you'll be live? So for the summer, it's a little bit hit and miss, but for the most part, I'm going to try to be live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the daytime. I'm doing a little bit extra this week, but I can't, while my son's with me, do any more than that, and I can't do any nighttime streams. So we're hanging out over the summer. And I'm just doing work hours. And Raphael says 2 billion Christians, not one can turn water into wine. I'm getting a little suspicious about the Bible. Listen, the Bible says you do greater works than what I've done. And they're not doing it. If Christians start turning water into wine, then I'll believe. I'm going to read 4 more super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. Superhuman says Matthew 16 seems like an obvious fuck up. It is an obvious fuck up. Why do you think it wasn't edited out later while it was being written? Wasn't Matthew written fairly late? So I think Matthew and Mark understood this passage to be answered in the Transfiguration. In their mind, it wasn't a fuck up. For anyone who's not entrenched in the dogma and the nonsense, it's just a fuck up. You know what I mean? So the gospel writers were doing the same pretzeling as modern Christians. Josh says, if the Bible is open to anyone's interpretations and excuses, it's pretty easy to disregard it 100%. I agree. If the Bible is not clear about what it says, and anyone can read it with or without the Holy Spirit and come to a different conclusion, then it sounds like it's just not a useful tool. We shouldn't be using it. And Shady says, for me, the idea that God gives us free will never made sense considering the threat of hell if you don't believe in God. Yeah, 100%. If you can only make a decision based on the threat of torture, you don't have free will. All there is to it. And Nathan says, have you ever had anyone from Scientology call in and try to defend it? Not yet, Nathan, but I would love to. I actually don't know a lot about Scientology, but I would love to talk to a Scientologist. It would make my day. And Adam says, thank you, by the way, for the super chat. Adam, good to see you, friend. I hope you're doing well. This is life hack for the YouTube autocorrect. Just start a note on your phone's note section, type out the super chat, then copy and paste. It gets around having a drunk text formatted super chat. That's good advice, Adam. We get quite a few of those where people type stuff out and it's incoherent because the super chat system didn't help them do any of the autocorrection. Which I get. I've been victim of the autocorrect quite a bit myself. Alright, let me get our next guest from the TikTok queue. We've had Colby waiting quite a bit to get in. How you doing, Colby?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Colby, are you at least 18 and are you a believer in some kind of higher power?
Yes, I'm 33 and I'm an ominist. So I believe in of basically all gods as long as you are approaching God with divine intention.
Sure. And what would be like a logical reason or evidence to believe?
Yeah. Well, I would ask for you to actually look this up yourself. It's a word called kundalini. If you wouldn't mind, just reading the first, 3 sentences on Wikipedia or whatever. It's K-U-N.
I know about cunnilingus.
No, not cunnilingus.
Oh, sorry. What's the other word?
Kundalini. K-U-N-D-A. L-I-N-I. And I just need everyone to know if this is real and I'm not making it up.
Kundalini says in Hindu tantric yoga is a spiritual energy believed to be located at the base of the spine, often visualized as a coiled serpent. I thought that was your prostate.
It's not. There is an energy at the base of your spine. But basically, I was raised. Sorry, I look like shit right now. But I was raised Catholic, and I went down to New Orleans,
Just one of the pieces goodbye.
A medium, and I knew everything she said. I scoffed at her.
Dumbass.
And I actually remember the exact moment she said, she goes, if you feel like you got fire raining up and down your spine, you are not insane. You are having what's called the rise of the Kundalini. And I literally went, now this bitch is dropping words, big words I don't know what they are. I forgot why the gloves, because I got a little nail fungus going on. I'm trying to treat it. But, so as I'm down, I forget what this one says. Absolutely forget. And it wasn't until probably like a couple months later I go down to Naples, Florida. And but I was raised Catholic. I do love Yeshua. But by the way, I agree with you on so many fronts about the ridiculousness of the Bible. Like a lot of what you said today, I totally buy with. However, I still have found Yeshua, and so I basically, when I was next to the ocean, I said, Yeshua, you baptized me when I was little, but like, who gives a shit? I wasn't there, I didn't know what's going on. Could you baptize me now? And I went into the water, and I came out a completely different human being. And I'm going to show you what Kundalini is. Basically, it's basically an uncoiling energy, and the idea in Hinduism is that there is basically there's not really heaven and hell, but it's more like this place, Earth, is either our karmic heaven or hell. But basically, at the end, you're trying to like get off that wheel of karma, and eventually you're trying to, I guess, just go to the spirit realm. I'm not really sure, but Kundalini is supposedly the vehicle to do this. But like, so if I just surrender to the energy, it fucking takes over my body, and it's kind of like an internal chiropractor, and it makes me do all your shit. And by the way, tons of Christians will tell you that this is a demon that's inside of me. It is very fucking weird. Like, this is very embarrassing for me right now, but I'm just being very vulnerable and explain to you kind of what happened to me. And in fact, let me show you this. So if you read up about Kundalini and the energy, it'll show you that if you have sexual relations with somebody that's had this Kundalini awakening happening to them, you may in fact have Kundalini awakening yourself. And so my husband is basically like I'm the Phoebe to his Ross, if you know Friends. But he's a skeptic, and I honestly think if I wasn't in his life, he would probably be an atheist as well. But he does believe in God now. But it has something to do with weed for sure. But it's kind of definitely more than that. So like I'm not on any drugs right now. But my husband.
But you've done something, right?
Oh yeah, no, and it does have something to do with weed for sure. But at the time that this happened, I'd only done weed and alcohol and nothing stronger. But my husband is very smart. He's the doctor of the year of 2020, okay? But even this guy, who is the most skeptical, only when he's high on marijuana, this energy will do the same shit to his body.
Yeah, that's believable that when he takes drugs, he'll experience things.
I know, but I'm telling you, I'm not on any drugs. I was sober for years, giving birth to my son, and breastfeeding him. I was sober for about the better part of 3 years. And this energy still moves through me, and it just has to do with breath work. And it just has to deal with, I'm not really sure, but if you also look in Kundalini, you will read up on how basically synchronicities or like magical coincidences happen to people like me on a more intense rate.
Do you know what psychosomatic experiences are?
Yes, and I would agree with you that could be what happened to me, but I had no clue what Kundalini was when this happened to me. So basically there's people that tried their whole lives to get this energy to pop off within themselves.
Yeah, she smoked
and I was not one of them. I was a spontaneous...
So I want to make sure that you and I
agree with you that could be what happened to me, but I had no clue what Kundalini was when this happened to me. So basically there's people that tried their whole lives to get this energy to pop off within themselves.
Did she have a steady fit?
I was a spontaneous...
So I want to make sure that you and I are at the same place, because we're not right now, right? So what you're saying is you believe that your God concept is real because you feel it in your spine. And what I'm saying is there seems to be no actual medical scientific evidence that this is the case. It seems like you're taking a feeling that you're having, probably a placebo effect at best, and interpreting it as a divine entity.
Well, I absolutely am doing that. But that's the difference between, faith and not knowing, and feeling and not feeling, right? So I'm just trying to come to you and explain my experiences with God. But where it gets, basically, Albert Einstein said that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And that's where I bring it back to Kundalini, because all the time there are these magical, strange coincidences that happen outside of me. And mathematically speaking, if you added them all up, by now there's thousands.
I don't think he said that.
Look it up. Look up Albert Einstein.
I did. He didn't say it.
He did too.
Nah. It says the quote, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous," is often attributed to Albert Einstein, but there's no reliable evidence that he actually said it. Also, he didn't believe in a God. He believed in Spinoza's God, which is basically like a non-thinking entity, like a spiritual force, like a prime mover.
Everyone is stupid.
He didn't believe in God. He wouldn't have said this.
So that is a bummer for sure. But, God, I will also tell you, and again, I'm not here to really, argue on whether the Bible is real or not. I agree with you. There's a lot of fucked up things. But I also want to say, human to you, I'm a person that survived suicidal ideation. And I know that listen, I would take...
We'll pay patty cakes all night long to a stalemate.
But I will tell you, if you're a person like me that's grown up in trauma and abuse, when you get to that point, it's because you feel all alone in the world. And even if God is just my imaginary friend, He is my imaginary friend that has kept me hanging on so much and so many times. And in fact, has saved my life many times in miraculous ways. For example, basically when I was little, my brother was being his typical asshole self.
Damn it.
We're driving down the road, and I just couldn't get the bottom of the buckle. I just couldn't get it up from, it was like in his, he had a Jeep Cherokee, so it had no top to it. And he was being an asshole, so I was like, fuck yeah, here, I'm not gonna wear a seatbelt. And as we're driving down the road, we're stopped Cherokee, so it had no top to it. And he was being an asshole, so I was like, fuck yeah, here, I'm not gonna wear a seatbelt. And as we're driving down the road, we're stopped at a stop sign, and a passerby said, hey, that little girl doesn't have her seatbelt on. So finally, I was like embarrassed enough to try one more time. I got it on. 2 minutes later, the car was totaled. So that's one time. When I was truly suicidal.
Yeah, Kobe, understand that coincidences happen.
I understand,
like,
and I understand there's no way to prove that God is real, but I also feel like you don't understand that there's no way to prove that God isn't real. Do you know what I'm saying?
It depends on what your concept of God is. Like, is your God good?
Yes, my God is very good and loving, and I understand that the God of the Bible is very evil at times.
Does he do bad things ever?
My God, I don't know. I don't know what he's done. I just know how he feels to me. Oh, somebody just said I'm from American Idol. I'm not a good singer, so I'm going to sing. This is a song I've been censored off the internet for. I'm an anti-Trump artist, by the way. I've had enough of your trickle-down hatred. I've had enough of your trickle-down hatred. I've had enough. I've had enough. I was have to fail on American Idol. I am a good singer. Fuck you. Okay, anyways.
Better than I can do. I can't sing worth shit.
Well, that's a whole other issue. But basically, yes, you got.
She sounds pretty good. She actually sounds pretty
I'm
good.
an anti-Trump artist, by the way. I've had enough of your trickle-down hatred. I've had enough of your trickle-down hatred. I've had enough. I've had enough. I was have to fail on American Idol. I am a good singer. Fuck you. Okay, anyways.
Better than I can do. I can't sing worth shit.
Well, that's a whole other issue. But basically, yes, if you guys want to become fans, the only way that I actually can
with that whore.
Get followers on the internet is going live with other people.
Okay.
If I make my videos, it's not going to work.
So let's do some examination, right? The God you believe in, you don't know if the God is good.
No, I know that he's good in my heart. Of hearts, I can't prove it to you right now, but no, I know he's good.
Is he good to everybody?
I do think he's just to everybody. So I think I believe in the reincarnation. I actually believe that I was Pearl Bailey in my past life, and
Pearl Bailey?
She's a musical theater
What
singer.
a
She was a black woman. There's a lot of
How
like
come nobody remembers
nonsense to
being
get me
nobody
there,
in
the
the
why I
past
believe
life?
I was her. But I believe that the karma that I've experienced in this life.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1981.
So you were born a year after Pearl Bailey died.
I believe so, yes. Again, I'll never be able to prove to you that I was Pearl Bailey, but to finish my thought, karmically I read her book, and basically she made fun of opera singers, and she made fun of Catholics, and she made fun of opera singers for screaming. And when I tell you, I'm on American Idol, and it's so fucking embarrassing, and I'm screaming because the producers told me to sing that song even louder. I believe that was my karma coming back to me in this life because of what I wrote in that book. And I also believe that I was raised Catholic because in my last life I didn't understand Catholicism. So that to me is the karmic wheel.
Why do you think God chose to make you white the second time?
I have no idea. I don't have a direct line that I can chat with God on, but I do feel like I have a direct something with this Kundalini. I mean, it's very, I'm just telling you, it is real, and it's supposedly, it will lead to enlightenment. I'm not enlightened at all, but it is definitely healing in my body. Like, I had a lot of arthritis in my knees that was healed. I get one of the weirdest people you'll ever meet in your life.
Did your God create the earth?
I think my God created everything.
Okay. Did he create natural disasters?
Damn it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Why?
Well, I think people just assume that God is perfect, but like maybe being the creator of everything is actually a lot more difficult.
But
Maybe things go awry, and maybe there's things that God doesn't want to happen, but like it's hard to control everything in the universe,
Did God not know what would happen?
Perhaps not. I'm saying perhaps God, although He is loving, in my opinion, perhaps He's not controlling. And also,
Well, I'm just trying to make sure we're staying linear here. Like, so you believe in a God that you can say He's not all-knowing, and that's fine. But it seems weird that He would create natural disasters and did not know what it was going to do, and then once He saw what they were going to do, He didn't be like, "Oh fuck, I need to undo that."
Well, I do believe in free will, and I do think that humans have exacerbated all climate change and things. So I believe, hopefully, but again, I think this place kind of is hell. So I think we're here to experience negative things as well.
Volcanoes were burying entire cities long before climate change.
Agreed. I also, there's a passage in the Bible that says God kills the good people early so that they basically can get out of here, which, as we all know, this Earth is pretty shitty. So perhaps He's killing people to take them to heaven.
So
I don't really know.
So why wouldn't He just click His fingers and take them? Why bury them under 1 million tons of oozing lava?
You have to ask Him that. I don't know.
It just seems like a really barbaric thing to do. That seems more in line with the idea that maybe the God doesn't exist.
Well, that's what you believe, and that's respectful.
Okay.
But when I read this is interesting. I'm reading the non-commodity scriptures. So basically, they're like Gnostic chapters that have been deleted.
Well, they were written after Jesus already came. They're part of the Egyptian cache that was discovered. So they're mostly Gnostic scriptures.
God damn it.
Well, I just thought this line was really interesting. Truly, I tell you, whoever will receive life and believe the kingdom will never leave it, not even if the Father wants to banish them. So, you're saying God is, I think, which I know, God is all powerful, all this, all that. But supposedly, we've got a little bit more power,
God damn
to
it.
each our own. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
The people that die in natural disasters, do they get reincarnated or do they go to heaven?
I think it depends where you are in the karmic wheel. I think maybe sometimes. I think it's very rare to get up to heaven. I think you typically will go back. So I would imagine it would take 10, 100 lifetimes. But again, that's just my imagination. I don't know.
Is there a time period in your worldview where the karmic cycle stops and you're just in heaven?
Yes, I do believe that that's the end goal, because we all know that Earth is shitty. So that's what my hope is.
Yeah.
And I hope Kundalini, when you read up on Kundalini, basically it says that will cleanse your system and you'll come into enlightenment. So I'm hoping this is my last one. I'm hoping this is it.
Well, we'll find out. I've got one last question.
Yes.
Two questions. What's your favorite song?
Probably, off the top of my head, probably Do You Realize from Flaming Lips.
Flaming Lips. I don't even know that song.
Yeah. Look it up, yeah.
I'm too old and unhip to know these songs, apparently. Anyways, Colby, thanks for... What's that?
Sorry. That's like your generation, the Flaming Lips. I fell in love with that song when I was like 5 years old.
Shit, I don't even...
Well, look it up.
Lips. I've never heard of them.
Wait, you have to sing it. Can I sing it?
Go for it.
Realize that
She's
you
cute.
have the most.
Heard of them.
Wait, you have to sing it. Can I sing it?
Go for it.
Realize that you have the most beautiful face. Do you realize that everyone and know someday we'll die. And instead of saying all your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning around.
Well, listen, I don't know anything about cuddling is, but you sing great. So thanks for stopping by and having a chat with us.
You got fun cuddling and stop calling cuddling. That's rude and sexist. All right, have a good one. Bye.
I actually don't think cuddling is sexist. I'm pretty sure that's the opposite of that.
Jesus.
That's like when you're helping each other out. I don't know how else to say it without getting banned. Okay, let's move on. Moose, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, massive love from England. Hell yeah. Big W over in England says, I think you have misread Matthew, though. On a donkey, on a colt. The donkeys are stacked. Jesus, donkey on donkey. So, you know what, Moose, now that you mention it, okay. Now that you mention it, there could be some truth to what you're saying. I have interpreted it to believe that he was planking across the donkeys, but it certainly could be that the donkeys were stacked. It was a donkey tower, and Jesus was on top of the tower. I think, listen, that's a perfectly plausible way of reading it. I will correct my ways. Coobs says it's an apocalyptic zombie death cult, which is also the name of my thrash metal band, AZDC.
Jesus fucking
Trademark pending. That's good. I appreciate that, Coobs. You're right, though. That's 100% what it is. It's an apocalyptic death call. Welcome to the Kraken crew. JJ, Big W friend. And also, Matt Lambert says, I'm perfect. Cooked apologist for my lunch break. Listen, I got a snack served up right for you, buddy. The Christian atheist says Jesus was convinced in a courts of... convicted... in a courts of law because Doug the Stone Cold Judge. That's amazing. That was good.
Damn it.
The Doug lore grows. The Doug lore only gets better and better with age. That's how you know that he's real. Because he never gets weaker. He's only more and more hard. Daniel says, are you going to collab with Forrest Valkai again anytime soon? Actually, I am working on a schedule to collab with him on The Line. So look forward to that. Probably won't be till like August or later, but we're working on it. We are. And Holofurfy, thank you so much for gifting out 20 DC Debate memberships. Huge W. Super generous, Holofurfy. I really appreciate that, friend. And praise Doug from JCal. Thank you so much, JCal. Great to see you. And also Millennial Mag's with us today. It says, please move on. Please, for the love of Doug. So, listen, we got to it, Millennial. We got to it. I'm sorry. Sometimes I drag the calls out of, sick curiosity. But you know what we do. Santa Mark says, I think I saw The Amazing Kundalini when I was a kid. Peanuts on ice.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that act, but it was under the Big Tent, I'm pretty sure. And Pat says, Colby's belief got me. Did you convert, Pat? Do you believe in... I can't even pronounce it. What's it called again? Shit. Kundalini? Are you a Kundaliniite now? Decal says, all-powerful being attacked thwarted by cut foreskin rubbing. Exits 424. Shinzwa. So yeah, when Zipporah has to do the emergency circumcision of Gershom and then touch the supposed either feet or genitals of Moses. It is a crazy story that Yahweh is just out to kill people for not taking the snip. It's such a weird story. Shitvermo. Thank you for the super chat, friend. It says Christian cooking in rum. Oh yeah. Found my people. Reading New Oxford Annotated Bible and goes damn good with a glass of absinthe. Awesome work. Cheers. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. And big W on getting in the Oxford Annotated Bible. Best one. And W on enjoying a glass of absinthe with it. Big W. Eric says this lady needs less drugs or more... It might be a combination of both.
Fucking Christ.
And BPA says, Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Yeah, listen, we're way out on left field right now. That's what just happened. And insert name here, thank you for the super chat, says, with Colby, I work in mental health, and here's the symptoms of mania. You're not wrong. Increased energy, racing thoughts, rapid speech, grandiosity, inflated self-esteem, and possible psychosis. Just saying, listen, I've worked with some mentally disturbed people before, and these are the symptoms of mania. You're not wrong. I think you're spot on. And Gabriel says, have you heard of or read any of Thomas J. Ord? I've not. A completely new name for me. I apologize. I don't know who that is. Thank you for the super chat, though. And our friend Ant says, Jesus gives clear prophecy, and Christians have to reinterpret it, but they will take a previously fulfilled prophecy and try to reapply it to man. You'd think that it would sink in. Doug, make it better. It's just not going to get better, Ant. They don't really have any good arguments. That's why they have to do the nonsense words don't mean words and all the other crazy stuff like that. It's because they just don't have an argument. You know what I mean? All right, let me grab one more super chat here, and we'll move right on to the next guest. Holler Furphy, my good friend. Thank you so much for the 666 ARSs, Big W, over in Argentina. It says, hey Justin, today's our Independence Day, so I'm here celebrating on my day off with you all, and getting the spirit of Doug stoned me. And don't forget what Einstein said, the C in the relativity formula stands for cunnilingness. He obviously said that. That's where I got it from. Obviously. The C stands for cunnilingus. I'm going to do some horrible stuff with this formula. You guys have to know this.
Jesus.
You guys know me well enough. I'm going to do horrible things with it. Okay, last one. From our friend Ya Fights Jacob. Big W, Ya. Thank you so much for the $99 super chat. Big W. Thank you, friend. Says, agreed. Astrology is woo. Nothing could shake my faith in Doug. I hope not. Doug's unshakable. He's a rock. The substitute to Darwin's book is Allegorical Astronomy and Astrology in the Gospel of Mark. He's just Mark is an allegorical representation of the sun's journey through the zodiac signs. Okay, so yeah, this is a possibility. There have been some people who made these types of assertions. One of my favorite is by a bishop. Shit, I forgot his name. John Sponge. John Shelby Sponge doesn't go for the zodiac interpretation, but his interpretation of the Book of Mark is that it's designed to align with the yearly reading schedule of the synagogue. So it is in fact on a calendar, but it's not based on zodiac signs. It's based on the reading schedule of the passages from the Hebrew Scriptures. So that's something that you would be interested in. In fact, John Shelby Sponge didn't invent that viewpoint. John Shelby Sponge, I think, stole that from a guy named Michael Goulder. Michael Goulder was a partial mythicist, and that's where the idea came from. But there are ideas out there by actual academics that are purporting that the Gospel of Mark is working on a framework other than straight-up biography. So it's possible that there is a framework for it that's not biographical, but it's actually based on the zodiac. I'd love to hear it. It actually sounds like an interesting theory. And I'm going to bring in our friend Dugald first before we get a guest up here. How you doing, Dugald?
Hey, buddy. I'm just coming up to tell you, you missed a real opportunity. You should have started the Church of Cunnilingus and been the High Grand what was that, the Kundalini?
I'd be the Grand Cuddlinger. I don't know what you call that.
Grand Kundalini.
And you guys would all be my cuddling guy?
Something along those lines.
It's ridiculous. I love it.
That's like the gem when you had that conversation. I was like, oh my god. And I don't want to hear any jokes about me not being in shape, because Round's a shape.
Dude, I'm with you. I'm going to grab another guest from the TikTok queue. You're welcome to hang out.
Sure.
Alright, we're going to get unique user experience in here.
Damn it.
Assuming that's what UX stands for in this instance. How you doing, Unique?
I'm doing fairly well. It's kind of torturous listening to the debate and all the nonsense, but other than that, it's okay.
It can be. It can be. Imagine having to do it for 5 hours at a time.
She's cute.
So,
right.
Unique, are you a believer in some kind of a higher power?
I am 34 years old, and yes, I do believe there's something going on there.
Can you
in terms
define
of a higher
something?
power. Well, first I'd like to start off by saying not everything real is measurable. There are limits of empirical reasoning. For example, love, logic, numbers, consciousness, beauty. These are all abstract. These are all concepts that we can't directly observe or sense.
I disagree.
But we don't call them imaginary.
No, they're not imaginary. They are, in fact, things that exist. We can quite,
How do you measure love?
You just have to measure the chemicals. So we can tell when someone's having a chemical response to something that induces the feelings of love. We can do the same thing for hatred. We can even manipulate them. We can give you special pills to manipulate your chemical and hormone balance to make you feel loved.
They can also do brain scans and see when those feelings arise when they light up.
Yeah.
So have you lived a truly empirical scientific life? Because that would be an extreme accomplishment.
I've done everything I can in my lifetime to abide by things that are believable, based on having like actual reasonable evidence, or even a rational.
But I would argue that that's not enough
or
to
even
make half the claims that you make.
Or even a rational argument for why something is true. So, did you have a rational argument for your God, since you obviously think there's no evidence?
Well, the burden of proof cuts both ways. Claiming God is imaginary is also a belief, a metaphysical one. Just as belief in God is a worldview, so is materialism.
So keep in mind, my claim is not that is not that all gods are imaginary. My claim is that your specific God is imaginary. Now, I actually don't know much about your specific God, because you haven't told me much about your specific God, but if you talk long enough, I guarantee I can find a way to explain why your God doesn't exist.
I'm trying to argue...
That being said, the reason why I don't believe any God exists is because there's simply no evidence for it. And so I don't believe in God for the same reason I don't believe in the tooth fairy.
Okay, and that's fine, but your prompt says that my God is imaginary.
And then what's it say after that?
It's saying to prove you wrong.
Oh, can you prove me wrong?
Yes.
Cool, let's have it.
Okay. So, the first thing that I wanted to bring up was the limits of empirical reasoning, which you said is not true. I'm saying that not everything real is measurable. Love, logic, numbers, consciousness, and beauty are all abstract concepts.
I don't think abstract concepts are transcendental.
They're all measurable.
Well,
they literally are measurable. Like math is measurable. That's the the whole thing.
Yeah, but you can't. But you have not lived a truly scientific life. Everything that you've done and studied, you haven't, because it's impossible.
You do know that consciousness is measurable, right?
But have you measured it?
We have measured it. They even know that.
So you're believing your sources, even though we know that humans are corrupt and they have biases and they'll fudge the data. You're saying that you just believe all of these things these people are saying.
No.
So
they have actually even linked.
Okay,
they've even linked the five senses with consciousness.
Yes. So unique. Let me explain for you briefly, right? So if a scientist does an experiment in a lab and says, "Hey, listen, if I put a couple pieces of pollen in a petri dish, they'll be eaten up by bacteria." Cool. Like I don't have to go reproduce that experiment to accept that the scientist did the experiment. Same reason why.
But if you wanted to be thorough, you
unique.
would.
No, I wouldn't. So just pay attention. No, you wouldn't. So the fact of the matter is, we relegate certain things to specialty jobs, right? So
I'm a specialist. Yeah.
Yes, right. So I trust specialists. Like I trust medical doctors to know how to do things because they've actually had to do the learning and they actually did reproduce the experiments. Just like when I was in school for engineering, I had to reproduce a lot of the experiments. It's not just the fact that I read it in a book and I trusted that somebody was right. I read it in the book, I learned the formulas, then I tested it, and now I actually know from experience and from learning. Now, somebody who's not an electrical engineer doesn't need to do all that shit. In fact, they'll probably get themselves hurt if they attempt it. So just because people in specialized fields do stuff, and I accept that people with specialized educations do stuff, that doesn't mean that I'm being anti-scientific by accepting scientific findings that somebody else did.
My claim is just that a prudent person would only 100%, what's the word I'm looking for?
That's the opposite of believe, by the way.
Would believe. They would have to really have very good empirical evidence to believe what they're claiming, and they wouldn't just say they're specialists and we just believe them because that's what we need to do in order.
I'm sorry, I had.
What's that, Dougal?
So, do you not know that they do peer review, right? You do know that.
I do know about peer review. Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask you.
Do you know that scientists engage in peer review? And sometimes when their ideas don't work out, they get criticized, and sometimes even their article get retracted.
And sometimes people get on TikTok lives and make wildly crazy statements and then slam other people who have different beliefs, and then they're proven wrong 10 years later.
That's never happened to me yet. So what we're trying to figure out is whether or not there's a good reason to believe in your God, and I haven't actually heard a good reason yet. All I've heard is you complaining about what you think my method is. So I'm still waiting for the...
I think your prompt is lazy.
I don't give a shit if you like my prompt. So what I'm trying to...
It's not intellectual.
Don't give a shit about what you think. So I'm trying to figure out why there'd be a good reason... Well, hold on a second. I'll give you the answer.
What you think.
Be a good... What we're trying to figure out is whether or not there's a good reason to believe in your God, and I haven't actually heard a good reason yet. All I've heard is you complaining about what you think my method is. So I'm still waiting for the...
I think your prompt is lazy.
I don't give a shit if you like my prompt. So what I'm trying to...
It's not intellectual.
Don't give a shit about what you think. So I'm trying to figure out why there'd be a good reason... Well, hold on a second. I'll give you the answer.
What you think.
Hold on a second. I'll give you the answer. I'm not talking to you because you're too immature to talk to. Okay.
If you didn't like the prompt, why the hell did you request up?
People who call in just to complain about the prompt might be the lowest form of life on the actual app. Looking back in the guest queue. Did you come to cry, or did you come to have a discussion about your God?
No, let's have a discussion.
Okay. Do you have evidence or argument that would end in your God being rational?
I'd like to clarify some things. Are you attacking? Most people arguing that God is quote unquote
trying.
Can you hear me?
I want the argument.
Okay. Can you let me begin the argument?
I want the argument. Don't complain about my prompt.
Most people arguing that God is imaginary are attacking a caricature, an
Okay, don't give a fuck about your opinion on a prompt. Don't care. I asked for an argument. That wasn't an argument.
Imaginary are attacking a caricature, an
Okay, don't give a fuck about your opinion on my prompt.
Attacking a caricature, an
Okay, don't give a fuck about your opinion on my prompt. Don't care. I asked for... Okay, don't give a fuck about your opinion on my prompt. Don't care. I asked for an argument. That wasn't an argument.
No spit.
What? The stubbornness and the sheer childishness.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Welcome in, Viking.
How's it going, man?
Good, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Viking, are you at least 18 and are you a believer in some kind of higher power?
Yes and yes.
Cool. And which higher power do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Cool. What would be the most convincing evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
First, can I ask you something to try and figure out kind of what you believe, where you stand?
Yeah, I'm an atheist. And so, Dougal, you're an atheist too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got two atheists here.
Sure, yeah. I'll, every once in a while this stream will come across on TikTok, so I'll watch it for a little bit. It seems like a lot of the time you're arguing with someone about whether or not slavery is moral, right? If it's okay to own someone's property, if it's evil for God to punish someone else for sins they didn't commit, stuff along those lines, which kind of is interesting to me because...
What's your moral standard as an atheist? Is that your next question?
I would imagine that you would say Well, yeah, sure. I would imagine you would say there is no such thing as absolute truth, right and wrong, immoral, moral, evil, or good. So anytime you make a claim like that, you would have to admit that's just your opinion.
I'm sorry, what claim have I made?
Sure, that slavery is evil.
Oh, I never made that claim.
So is slavery evil?
In my worldview, slavery is evil, and that's a subjective claim. The reason why I bring up slavery is because Christians will say that slavery is evil, and then they'll say that their God doesn't do any evil, and then I'll show them their God doing the evil shit. Now, in my worldview, I'm perfectly okay admitting that my moral framework is subjective. The problem is that in the Christian worldview, your moral framework is objective, which you mean is actually divine command theory, because there's no room for objective morals in your framework. You just think there is. But the reality is, in your worldview, you have to admit that slavery is permissible.
Sure, yeah, I would say under Old Covenant, within the guidelines that God had given them, slavery was permissible. Yes.
Did he ever say not to own slaves?
No, he actually said you may own slaves, and he told us where they are to come from.
That's right. Okay, so the God of the book said you can own slaves. In the same law code that said you can own slaves, he said to follow this law forever. Jesus comes along, Jesus says to follow the law. So the only chance you get is to say, well, according to Paul, you don't have to follow all the law anymore, but that doesn't actually fix the problem, because if you don't have to follow the law anymore, that means you can do anything you want to your slaves. You can own as many slaves as you want. Getting rid of the law has nothing to do with whether or not you can own slaves.
Right, sure, and I'm not even trying to jump into the slavery topic. We haven't gotten there.
You picked it up. You decided you were going to pick on slavery, and fuck, now we are. You're like a sadomasochist.
Sorry, I gave slavery and punishing others for someone's sins as an example to mention you seem to have no belief in absolute truth. So anything you say is just your opinion.
So again, you're confusing absolute morality with absolute truth. Like you started criticizing my moral framework, and then you immediately moved to absolute truth. Why would you do that?
Sure, sorry. So
do you know the difference?
But no, I'm not using absolute truth incorrectly, because I'm only talking about your morality framework.
Okay, my moral framework is subjective, and I can admit that. Now, as it turns out, your moral framework is also subjective, you just don't know that yet.
Yeah, so when you say my moral framework is subjective, all you're saying is I have opinions, there is no absolute right and wrong. That's what you're saying.
No, that's what I'm saying for me, because I'm honest. In your moral framework, you believe in subjective morality. You just think that it's subject to the mind of God.
Correct. So just to make sure I'm understanding, if you're standing next to Osama, and he says 9/11 was the greatest thing ever because it harmed people, and you say, Osama, that was actually bad because it harmed people, is one of you actually right, or are you both right because they're both opinions?
Subjectively or objectively?
Under your worldview, which you would say is subjective.
Yeah, exactly. My opinion on what he did is subjective. It's subjective to my mind. So in my mind, I would say that what Osama bin Laden did was bad, and then I would enumerate all the reasons why I think what he did was bad. Now, in my moral framework, I think bad is actually something that's measurable. Like, I don't think that taking away people's lives is good. I don't think that harming individuals is good. Now, listen, if in your moral framework, if you think harming other people is good, if you think killing people is good, then listen, you're welcome to have that opinion, but just know that we're going to lock you up and we're going to throw away the key. You can have it. You're welcome to have it. You don't have to like that subjective morality is the case. But the fact of the matter is, if you're that kind of vile, we'll lock you up.
So I noticed you didn't answer the question, and you probably don't want to.
It certainly did answer the question. It's okay, it's over your head.
I'll ask it again. Osama says it's good, and he gives you all the reasons he believes it's good.
Like that. You can have it. You're welcome to have it. You don't have to like that subjective morality is the case. But the fact of the matter is, if you're that kind of vile, we'll lock you up.
So I noticed you didn't answer the question, and you probably don't want to.
It certainly did answer the question. It's okay, it's over your head.
I'll ask it again. Osama says it's good, and he gives you all the reasons he believes it's good.
Osama bin Laden did was bad, and then I would enumerate all the reasons why I think what he did was bad. Now, in my moral framework, I think bad is actually something that's measurable. Like, I don't think that taking away people's lives is good. I don't think that harming individuals is good. Now, listen, if in your moral framework, if you think harming other people is good, if you think killing people is good, then listen, you're welcome to have that opinion, but just know that we're going to lock you up and we're going to throw away the key. You can have it. You're welcome to have it. You don't have to like that subjective morality is the case. But the fact of the matter is, if you're that kind of vile, we'll lock you up.
So, I noticed you didn't answer the question, and you probably don't want to.
You certainly did answer the question. It's okay, over your head.
I'll ask it again. Osama says it's good, and he gives you all the reasons he believes it's good. You say it's bad, you give him all the reasons you believe it's bad. Which one is right?
You have to weigh the actual evidence, just like we're doing now when we make an argument for God. So when you look at the actual evidence, you can just say, based on the moral framework we're working from, which one actually fits the case. Now, in my moral framework, I believe that harming individuals is bad. I would imagine that in Osama bin Laden's moral framework, he probably believes that what he's doing is preventing people from being harmed. So we probably have the same moral framework. The problem is we have different facts, right? So all we have to do is take a look at the facts on the ground and ask ourselves, are the facts on the ground supporting his claim or my claim?
Yeah, that's wrong. You just tried to claim that Osama acted on 9/11 to prevent people from being harmed. You see how ridiculous?
I've actually read any of the documents from the people in the East that talk. No, Viking, you hold on. You have to listen. You have to
words. And do you think
you actually have to listen sometime, Viking? So if you actually read some of the writings from what was released over in the East, I don't know if you know this, but the West has occupied their territory for decades. That's part of the reason why we're fighting with them right fucking now. Because we, as fucking Westerners, went over there, invaded their fucking land, because we were afraid of the Red Scare moving into the East. Prior to World War II, no one cared, okay? We invaded their land. We harmed their people. So there are people in the Islamic tradition who believe in jihad that think they're doing a good thing by getting rid of the Westerners, by dealing with the Westerners. Now, again, they think they're doing a good thing. I disagree. I don't think they're doing a good thing. All we have to do is weigh the evidence of, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Just like if somebody was occupying the USA, and then we attacked the people occupying the USA. People living in the USA would think that we're doing a good thing. It's just a matter of perspective. Now, you can cry all day long, Viking. You can cry as long as you want about how much you don't like subjective morals. You don't have to fucking like it. The reality is, you have no way of demonstrating that there's anything but subjective morals. Until you can demonstrate that objective morals exist or your God exists, you're stuck with it. This is all you have. And he doesn't know. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Do it.
You're fine. No, it's your life. If you're saying that objective morals exist, then you have to explain how Christians across the board, across all 45,000 denominations, all have different morals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If there's objective morals, it's weird that no one can agree on what they are. Viking, did you hear anything I said, or were you talking the whole time you were muted?
Yeah, I heard everything you said.
Did you hear the last part where I said it doesn't matter if you like subjective morals?
Yeah, I was amused.
Okay, so your disdain for my moral framework is irrelevant. If you don't like my moral framework, you need to provide an evidence or an argument that there is something better that we can appeal to. Can you do it?
Yeah, so I'm not upset with your... I really couldn't care less. I'm just trying to understand it. But what's hard is, and I find this interesting, because when you ask a Christian a question on this live, you force them to answer that question directly. You'll mute them until you say yes or no. If we try to give,
I answered your question. Did you not hear it?
Let me know when I can keep going.
Viking, I answered your question twice. I did.
So you made a point, which was that Osama did not want to harm people, right? Then you gave a background on everything going on that side of the world.
I didn't say that he didn't want to harm people.
Try to get more context.
I didn't say any of that. You weren't even listening.
Let me ask you this.
He wasn't listening at all.
Let me ask you this. I was. When Osama flew those planes, right, or told people to fly those planes into the buildings, was he wanting to harm those people, yes or no?
Yes. No one's disagreeing that he is harming people.
Okay, so he thought it was good for him to harm those people in the buildings.
Yes, that's the whole point. That's how subjective morals work. He thinks that he's doing a good thing. I disagree. He has a different opinion than me. That's how subjective morals work. He thinks he's good. I think he's bad. Now, if you want to appeal to something higher than subjective morals, you have to demonstrate. You have to demonstrate that something else exists.
Start talking, you just hijack what they're saying and try and twist it to fit your narrative. It's fine. So if I get to finish, let me know. I'll sit on mute until.
All right, go ahead and keep crying.
Okay, so we just agreed that when Osama had those planes flying into the buildings, he was going to harm people, and he thought it was good to harm them. You're claiming that it is bad that he flew those planes and harmed people.
Yeah.
So
we have different brains. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have different brains and differing opinions, right? If you two are standing in front of me and I have to decide, is one of them right or is one of them wrong? Are one of you right or are you both right because all it is your opinion?
According to who? Again, subjective morals can never appeal to an objective right or wrong. That's the whole point, and you keep making category error. You can't judge subjectivity by objective standard until you tell me that or prove that the objective standard exists. So where is it? Where can I find it?
I don't have to prove it to you.
You do.
I'm showing you. It's ridiculous that you can't state that what Osama bin Laden did was objectively absolutely wrong.
Because there's no objective morals.
The fact you can't do that is more evil.
This guy is completely over his head. It's okay if you're not smart enough for this conversation.
So let me see if you'll say this.
So we'll just try this again. There's no such thing as objective moral claims. I can't make them. You can't certainly make them because they don't fucking exist. I can say all day long that Osama bin Laden was a horrible terrorist and what he did was tragic and horrible and he deserves whatever he got for it, right? Plus more. I can say those things. Those are my fucking opinions. Those are not objective claims from moral arguments because there's no objective morality. So again, I keep going over and over again with you. I don't make objective moral claims. You're trying to force an objective moral claim on me. Before you can do that, you must demonstrate that objective morals exist. I don't bear the burden of objective morals until you show me that they exist.
Okay, so if you're correct and they don't exist, and everything is subjective, then why are you so mad and spending so much time other than trying to make money? Spending so much time.
You think I was doing this for money from day one? You think I was making money the whole entire first year that I was here, making no money? You think I was just doing it for money?
Like I said, I can't finish the thought. I sit on mute the whole time when we talk, but I get interrupted.
When you accuse me in bad faith, when you accuse me in bad faith of being here just for the money, I want to fucking talk over you.
Okay, so if subjective morality is the thing, why are you so mad about what the Bible says? Because it's just your opinion if you don't like it.
Oh, I'm sorry, am I not allowed to have an opinion?
Well, no, you are.
Okay, so if I'm allowed to have an opinion, then it's mine, right?
Yeah, but why are you so mad?
Am I allowed to decide, according to my own opinion, what my opinions are?
Sure.
Okay, then don't fucking tell me what my opinion has to be.
Oh, no, you can have your opinion. I was just wondering why it makes you so mad.
No. You make me mad. The Bible doesn't make me mad. The Bible's a book of mythology. You make me mad because you believe in mythology, and then you dictate that I have to believe the bullshit when you don't have a single argument for why it's true.
Okay,
so we've been talking now for 15 minutes. We've been talking now for 15 minutes. You've not provided one evidence, one argument at all for why your God is real and why your religion is true. What you've done is you've complained about my moral framework the entire time. Do you want to actually get on to the actual argument, or do you just want to cry about my moral framework?
I do, but here's the last thing I'll say about that, which is, I think, the most...
Don't care. I don't care. No one's here for your crying. We want to get to the arguments for why your God's real. Did you read the stream? It doesn't say cry about my moral framework. It says prove me wrong. That's what we're here for. Can you prove me wrong? Can you demonstrate that your God is real or not?
Okay, so just to be clear, it's okay to have an opinion because everything's subjective, but you're mad at me for my opinion that Scripture is true.
No, I'm not mad at you because you think it's true. I'm mad at you because I think it's harmful to society. So, I want to... Listen, do you... I didn't say it. So you're not going to actually provide an argument, are you? You're going to evade the entire time? You're going to obfuscate?
I believe Scripture is true.
No, I'm not mad that you believe it's true. I'm mad because you're an asshole.
No, you just said it. You just said you're mad because I believe what the Bible says.
I'm mad because people like you believe it, and it affects society right now.
No, but it's my opinion.
I know, and my opinion is allowed to think that you're an asshole. So all I'm asking for is, do you have an argument for why it's true?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
I know, that's not what you're talking about. That's why you're getting kicked. Because you didn't come here to debate whether or not it's true. You came here to cry. You came here to have a bitch session. And you did it for 15 minutes. No one gives a shit about your bitch session. You don't have to like subjective morals, but until you demonstrate that no one gives...
I'm talking about.
I know, that's not what you're talking about. That's why you're getting kicked. Because you didn't come here to debate whether or not it's true. You came here to cry. You came here to have a bitch session. And you did it for 15 minutes. No one gives a shit about your bitch session. You don't have to like subjective morals, but until you demonstrate that objective morals exist, cry. You came here to have a bitch session, and you did it for 15 minutes. Debate whether or not it's true. You came here to cry. You came here to have a bitch session, and you did it for 15 minutes. No one gives a shit about your bitch session. You don't have to like subjective morals, but until you demonstrate that objective morals exist, that's what you got, motherfucker. You can't do anything about it.
No. You know what I find funny about that argument, Justin? They don't take into account that even though morals are subjective, the outcomes are not.
Yeah, the outcomes are objective. Those are measurable.
Yeah, so outcomes of inaction are measurable. Therefore, we can see negative and positive. We can measure that. So therefore, there's where the objectivity comes in. But it's not my morals that are objective. It's what I do with the morals.
Indeed. Yeah. Imagine crying for 15 minutes on whether or not you like subjective morals rather than... Like, if I believed in God and I had evidence that God is real, I'd be like, here's the fucking evidence why God is real. That's it. That would be the only thing on my mind. I cannot imagine people just getting up and crying about, I don't like how you come to your moral decisions. Well, bullshit. Prove me wrong.
I don't like how Christians come to theirs.
Fucking prove me wrong.
Like, where does that leave us?
All right, let me grab a couple super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. Brain Damage Songwriter says, Doug, damn, this kid is so cooked. Oh, yeah, the prior kid. Yeah, he was. Although this kid didn't help himself at all. And look at this. We've got Inception. Dugall said, listen, I'm backed up on super chats bad today. Guys, thank you so much for all the super chats, but I've got a shit ton of them. I'm going to spend like the last half hour of live stream reading super chats. For anyone who wasn't here, Dugall says, I'm at the gym too, listening and modding friend. Oh, you're probably moderating my life. Shit. No jokes about me being out of shape. I'm in shape, rounded in shape. So we got a double joke, even though it's the same joke. I appreciate that. It's a good joke, by the way. I make it myself.
My dick, bitch.
Killing it smalls.
Biden says Zodiacs. I'm a Pyrex. I was test tube baby. Actually, so was I. I was in an incubator for 6 months after I was born. I was 3 months premature.
I got myself.
The only reason why I'm alive is because of medical fucking advancements that Christians have tried to hold back for centuries. And GH says, what time Thursday? I'm going to need a reprieve. I'm looking at doing 1 o'clock on Thursday. Be there or be square. And Brianna says, have you read Skeptics and Scripture by David Kidd? I have not. I apologize. I don't know that one. but I'll have to put it. It's going to be on my list, man. It's going to be on my list. Put it on the cheat sheet. Raphael says Indian Holy Spirit. We know it, lady. Oh, the Kundalini thing was wild.
I'm telling you, you need to start another church. I'm telling you.
Woolite says, have you ever tried Kundalini Alfredo? Great dish. I would try that in a heartbeat. Shit, I'll make some tonight maybe and try it out. I love Alfredo. It's one of the best pastas. What's that?
One of those noodles looks like...
Oh! It's going to be an XX rated pasta. Ken says, keep rocking. I'm watching Real Madrid versus PSG now. Well, shit. Enjoy the game. Big W. Thanks for keeping me on in the background.